Hello and welcome. Carrie here from Homestead How and the Carnivore Diet Documentary. And I'm excited to have back Ronnie Campbell and Jeff DeProsperous. How you two doing?
Great. Thank you
Good.
for having us.
I'm doing
Yeah,
all right. I'm doing all right, Carrie. Everybody knows on my channel, and I think your channel now, that yesterday was my chemo day and I got my chemo bottle attached. So it's kind of a down day for me, but I'm excited now because I'm get to talk to you two wonderful people.
yeah, likewise. I'm looking forward to this conversation. So Jeff, Ronnie, and I, we did, geez, I think 2 videos together, but this is the first live one, which is exciting. So we're opening this up to the audience here. If you guys have any questions, please post them. Post a lot of questions. We love questions. If you could put a QQQ in front of it, it's just easier for us to find it because we end up getting a lot of comments scrolling through here. So, and then we'll answer some of your questions. Um, I was hoping maybe just briefly, Ronnie and Jeff, you could share your story, your background, how you found carnivore, and maybe a little bit about your cancer story as well. Maybe starting with Ronnie.
Yes. Okay, I just started carnivore. Well, it's been a week ago. Well, yeah, 2 weeks. This is my second week. Um, and I did find it a little tough with my energy level. I really struggled with that. So I did have to have some fruit. I had an apple in the morning just to give me the energy. But I'm one thing I did find, you are full. Like you don't need to snack. That was one thing that I found with it. And I've probably eaten more meat in the last week and a half than I have in a month. Um, but it's getting easier. It's just managing the electrolytes. Once you get through that, I think it'll be okay. Just getting through it. Um, Now, my cancer story. In 2018, I was diagnosed with colon cancer, and I had surgery. And at the surgery, there was a surprise satellite tumor on my omentum that the surgeon found, and they tested my lymph nodes, and it was in my colon, my lymph nodes, and on my omentum. And then 2 weeks after that, when I went and met my cancer oncologist, they wanted to make sure that all the cancer was gone. So I went for another CAT scan, and it had already spread to my liver and my lungs. So I was considered terminal palliative, um, and the life expectancy was 6 months with no treatments, 2 to 3 years with chemo, and that was just going to give me a better quality of life. So that's my cancer story. And in 2020, I was cancer free. So I did both conventional chemo, and I also did naturopathic treatments. So that's my story. Jeff?
That's amazing. Thank you, Ronnie. And so we had some follow-up questions last time. People were like, "Is Ronnie on carnivore?" And you weren't carnivore. You're new to carnivore now, but
Yes.
you were doing other things like fasting too, right?
Yes, I did the fasting when I was doing my chemo, so every other week, the same as Jeff is doing. And the naturopathic doctor had me on a Mediterranean diet at that time. So I was doing the fasting and the Mediterranean diet.
So you weren't doing carnivore, but you were fasting, which is crazy, and you were
Yes,
eating way cleaner than standard American diet for sure.
that that is true.
That's
Yes.
just remarkable. So I know we talked about it before, but like that just had to be crazy hearing that you're cancer free. And now, how long ago was that?
That was in December 2020.
Wow.
So my last chemo was the 1st of November in 2019. So in 2020, I still continued every 4 months getting my CAT scans, but I wasn't, everything was shrinking. And so I didn't need to have the chemo. So, but I still did my naturopathic treatments and my fasting every other week, like I was on chemo. And I did that for 2020. And then at the end of the year, my oncologist finally said those magic words, "You are cancer free."
That must have been an amazing day.
It was a great Christmas.
Yeah.
Best Christmas present ever.
One of the remarkable things, if you guys haven't seen the video we did before, and by the way, I have links to Ronnie's website and Jeff's channel in the description below, so you guys should check out, they're doing Ronnie has a book too. Um, but if you guys didn't see those videos, you should see it, but it's just so remarkable, your story and how you overcame things, but also just how much effort you put into it. The exercise, the fasting, the work, like, you took things into your own 2 hands for sure. Uh, that was kind of my big takeaway from this last time was, like, if I ever know anyone that gets cancer, if I get cancer myself, you really gotta take things into your own 2 hands. Was there anything else you sort of learned along the way? Or I we'll talk about some more of this, but is there anything else you can think of that you've kinda learned along the way
Um,
or advice for folks?
that you really do have to do the investigating yourself and try to find out what works for you. Everybody's cancer is different, and but you're going to have to try. And last on our last video, Jeff said, and you said, you did so much. And it was one of those things that my naturopath said to me when I first got diagnosed. He said, you need to do everything you can so that if things don't work out, you know that you did everything that you possibly could in order to fight this cancer. And that's where it's hard work. I mean, Jeff's going through it now. It's hard work, but it's something that you just have to be determined and have the will to live. I did not want to die. So I was willing to do and try anything that I thought would help my cancer.
Mm. You're fighting for your life and you didn't wanna leave anything on the table at all.
No,
But you
no.
were doing some crazy stuff too, if I remember, like running, jogging, marathons,
Yep.
like bikes.
Yeah. I did, I was heavy duty into I always have been, very, very active. So, when I was like even the day before my surgery, I went out and did 60 kilometers on the bike ride thinking, well, I'm going to be out for a few weeks, so you may as well get one last bike ride in. And so for me, I'd always been really, really active, did triathlons and marathons. So when I got sick, it was it was a reality check. But once the doctor said, you know you're good, you can start picking up your exercise, I just took it and ran with it. So every other week, because it was 2 weeks, every other week you did chemo. So on my week that I wasn't doing chemo was the week that I would go crazy, do everything I could, while I was able to. And then usually, I would go for my blood work on Monday, and then get my port back, get it opened up and ready for chemo. And so then I would, slow back down again while I was doing that. But even with the chemo bottles, I would still go and walk every day. And also, sometimes I would go over to the arena and just do stairs, just for something to do. I think it helps get your mind off it too. So you're not always thinking about cancer. You want to, I think, and Jeff, you want to be normal. You just want to be normal again. And that was my big thing. I was just trying to be normal. Whatever I used to do, I wanted to do it.
Mm, that's great. Thank you so much, Ronnie. Anyone has questions for Ronnie, please post them in the sidebar. We did dig into her story a lot more on the last video, so you can watch that one, but please post some questions. Jeff, could you kind of do the same and maybe recap your story regarding cancer and how you found carnivore diet?
Yes, thanks, Carrie and Ronnie. I'm just going to expand on what Ronnie said. It's definitely like a full-time job when you have what we have, stage 4 cancer. And you want to be as normal as you can, as much as possible. And I learned a lot from Ronnie, and I'll talk about that in a few moments. But just to quickly summarize, April 2022, I was fully diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer that metastasized fully to my liver. My liver is pretty covered. There's not really a spot that they can cut through for surgery. So I'm deemed inoperable. I'm incurable. I'm palliative. I'm terminally ill. right from the start, from April of 2022. I did a year of chemo from May 2022 to May 2023. I took a bit of a break, July, August, September, and I'm back on it now. I've done 31 rounds of chemo, and I'm not just doing conventional chemo. I'm also, what like Ronnie did, I have a naturopath. We share the same naturopath. It's out of town from where we live. It's about 45 minutes away. So I have that. I do osteopath. Fasting is a big part of my game. Today's Thursday. I haven't eaten since Sunday, and I'm going to eat tomorrow on Friday night. So that'll be a full 5-day fast. Exercise is a big component, and Ronnie really motivates me. And from our last video 2 weeks ago, just listening to Ronnie talk about how much he exercised, I'm trying to up my game. I did last Thursday was my off week. I did 4 bike rides with 4 phys ed classes, because I've been a phys ed teacher for 21 years, phys ed department head, athletic director. And right now I'm volunteering quite a bit at the school as a coach. And whenever the phys ed classes need me, I help out with bike rides and stuff like that. So I did 4 bike rides totaling about 32 kilometers last Thursday. I did a bike ride on Monday with some phys ed classes. I'm coaching volleyball. And like Ronnie said, you want to do what you used to do and what you love to do. So I've been a high school phys ed teacher, like I said, 21 years. That's my passion. I love sports. I love coaching. And I have 2 sons, and I have a wife that, I'm spending a lot of time with them now. That's why I call it blessings on my journey, because I can be with my sons and my family. And yeah, that's a quick summary, hopefully, Carrie.
Yeah, good stuff. So, what are you going to eat tomorrow? Just as a side question.
I'm definitely going to eat beef. I think. So what I do is at noon, I go to my naturopath in Kitchener, very similar to Ronnie. I went there on Wednesday after I received chemo, and then now I have this bottle attached. So before this bottle is going to be empty around 1 or 2 o'clock tomorrow. So I'll go to my naturopath at 12 p.m. for hyperthermia, which is, it heats up the chemo inside of me. And then after that, I look at my bottle, and if it's emptied, where I am in Kitchener, which is an hour from our hometown, 45 minutes, I last couple Fridays that I've gone there, I head over to A&W. So I go to A&W, and I'm going to get my grass finished beef, probably about 4 or 5 patties, sprinkle some Redmond fine salt on it, and I'll eat that. Then I'm going to come home, get my bottle removed around 3:30, 4 o'clock, pick up my sons from school. And then I think I'm going to come home and barbecue some ribeye steaks and some beef sausages for me and the boys. So I'm pretty excited for tomorrow.
That's awesome. Nice. So, I guess a couple other announcements quick, and then we'll take some questions from folks. This is kind of exciting, but so next week, Jeff, Ronnie, Diane, and a gentleman named Brad, who he's behind the documentary Cancer Evolution. I'll leave a link for that in the description below. I talked about that on a previous video. They just recently put out their first episode. The website is cancerevolution.film. We're all doing a roundtable with Professor Seyfried. I can't believe that's next week already. It's not live though, so it'll probably be 2 weeks that everyone watching here will see it. But I'm really looking forward. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, so am I, Carrie. I just want to say thank you for setting that up, because I've been following Dr. Thomas Seyfried for the past year and a half, and he is my go-to. He is my he makes me feel calm and at ease with what I'm dealing with, because he's the cancer biologist specialist. He's leading the research around the world, and he basically explains it how it's a metabolic disease. So I'm really excited for that. So thank you, Carrie.
Absolutely. I just for those that are watching, because I think this is important. I knew nothing about cancer, really, the reality of it, until you told me about Professor Seyfried, and then I started watching a ton of his videos, and then I was kind of mad and upset that I didn't know some of these things. I had just minor skin cancer on my ear. I've lost some loved ones to cancer, but the thing that I learned, you mentioned Professor Seyfried and talking about metabolic causes for cancer. This is my understanding. This is totally layman, but correct me, Ronnie and Jeff, if I'm wrong. But basically, what he's saying is, oftentimes in my head, I was always thinking cancer is we just don't know, or it's genetic. or maybe it's from toxins or smoking cigarettes for a long time. And from what I understand from Professor Seyfried, in a lot of cases, it's from chronic inflammation, and that could be from smoking, or it could be from toxic, ingesting toxic fumes or whatever for a long period of time. But in a lot of cases, it's from chronic inflammation from foods people are eating, sugar being one of them. And you do that for
Mhm.
years and years and years, and it damages your mitochondria. And then you end up getting cancer. And a lot of people that end up getting it are still feeding it sugar, or they're still having that chronic inflammation. So they're not helping themselves. So your regimen of fasting and avoiding sugar is kind of fighting it more so. But then, like Jeff, you were telling me you go in for chemo treatment and they're giving out cookies, which I just can't wrap my
Well,
brain.
you know what? Just yesterday I was there, and there's a lovely volunteer that she's normally there. She's an older lady. She's retired and she volunteers every Wednesday. She wasn't there, and there was another volunteer there. But this volunteer that came, she brought those Halloween boxes of chocolates, the red box that has all the mixture of different chocolates in there. And she was going around offering it to all the cancer patients. And a couple times, like I said no, and someone else said no. And they're like, she's like, why not? It's good for you. You should have it. And I go, I don't think so. So, and I was just in the middle of a discussion with a couple other cancer patients about what I'm doing, the carnivore diet and eliminating sugar and carbs. So they all were kind of on board. And she kind of looked sad that we weren't taking a chocolate, but I want to live. Like Ronnie said, we want to live.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, hopefully, we can get this message out more. I know when we spoke last time, it was like, if you're diagnosed with cancer, it would just be wonderful if they gave you a pamphlet with Professor Seyfried's work. Like, here, go research and learn this. Because from what I'm understanding from Professor Seyfried and you, and I was just watching that Dr. Chafee video that you sent me earlier, Jeff. That was a
Yeah.
wonderful video.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was a good one.
yeah, Dr. Chafee was saying, I'm not saying don't do chemo. I'm not saying don't do the traditional things. I'm just saying you should know that this is an option and that this could go alongside the chemo, fasting and being in ketosis and avoiding sugar. So I think someone asked him on that video, like, what would you do? And I think one of the clearest things he said was avoid sugar. Like,
Yeah. I
stop
was I,
sugar.
I was watching that tonight too, Carrie, and he said if he actually spoke about colon cancer directly, and he said if he had colon cancer, he would just be red beef, red meat, and
Yeah.
water, red meat and water, and that's all he would do. And it's funny because we've always been told, it's kind of a myth, and there's bad research on it, that red meat causes colon cancer. And Dr. Chafee totally clears that up in this video that we were watching tonight, and he really explains his interview that he had not too long ago with Dr. Seyfried, that's on Anthony Chafee's channel, which I'm a huge fan of Dr. Anthony Chafee too. So
Mhm.
I'm hoping to meet him soon too.
Yeah. I think I mentioned briefly, but I was talking to him because I introduced Jeff to Dr. Chafee during the 24-hour live stream. It was just so cool what you said, Jeff. You were like, he's my doctor. And it was cool telling
Yes.
Dr. Chafee, I'm like, this guy's your patient and you don't even know you're treating him. But that's how incredible it is with just having your word out there on the internet and reaching so many people. So he said he definitely wants to do a video with you. I think he's getting caught up after being back from traveling, but I know you did the video with Dr. Baker too, which I don't think it's quite live on Dr. Baker's channel, but I
No.
mentioned that to him as well. Yeah, he'd love to have you on his channel, so we got to set that up for sure.
No, that'd be great, Carrie. Thanks a lot. And you know what? I go into my oncologist, and Ronnie and I share the same oncologist too. So when yesterday when I was in there, and I have a meeting with him before I get administered the chemo. I'm talking to my oncologist about Thomas Seyfried and Anthony Chafee, and he's never heard of Thomas Seyfried, and I'm thinking, I don't know, like this guy's a leading researcher when it comes to cancer. It kind of disappoints me. I didn't say that to my oncologist, but I'm thinking that, and I'm asking him about fasting and supplements and this and that. Is it okay that I'm doing this? And his answer to me is he doesn't really know about fasting and he doesn't really know about supplements, and he's just basically the chemo administrator. So, but I am exposing that I'm letting all my doctors know. I don't ever hide anything, that I've connected with other doctors now, like my doctors, like you said, on YouTube, and they're helping me a lot. Like Seyfried, Chafee, Baker, even Paul Saladino. He drives me a little bit nuts, Paul Saladino, because he eats fruit and honey, and he used to call himself a carnivore. But I think he knows it. I think Paul Saladino, if I ever get to do a video with him, I think he'd probably admit if he would have what I have, he probably wouldn't eat fruit and honey and stuff like that.
For sure. Yeah. Awesome. Hey, so we got a bunch of questions coming in here, so we'll hit up some of those. I guess one other last announcement, which is kind of exciting. If you're still up for this, Jeff, Adam and I were going to come out to Jeff's town and film his story for the Carnivore Diet Documentary. You're still up
I'm
on
up
the
for
spot
it.
here
I'm
big
up
time.
for it. My boys are really excited, Carrie, that you're coming. And I can't wait, because I can't wait to share my life with you. You've become like my best friend on YouTube. So I'm really excited. And I want to tell you one more thing before we get into questions. I was talking to my sister while I was watching Peter at soccer practice tonight about an hour ago. And my sister's part of Team Jeff. Is my sister, my brother-in-law, my wife, my kids, and Dr. Dwight and Ronnie. They're part of Team Jeff. But anyways, my sister called me and she wanted to tell me quickly, because she knew I was doing a live stream with you guys tonight. She went out for dinner with a mom group that she used to hang around years ago when her kids were younger. And this mom group, they're pretty homeopathic in terms of like health and stuff. And like they don't believe in vaccines, and like they're really just up to date with like what they're totally into carnivore, and they're totally into ketosis. So that she started talking about me and how I've connected with this Carrie Mann guy, and all these women go, "Are you talking about the guy from Homestead How?" So all these women, okay, here in Ontario, my sister lives 30 minutes away from me. They're obsessed with you, Carrie. They said, this guy lost 100 pounds. He's got triplet daughters. He owns a movie theater.
Wow.
My sister was going on, and I said to my sister, "You're listening to your friends tell you about Carrie." I go, "I've been talking to you about Carrie for like the past month here." She finally clued in. She's like, she's so surprised, like your triplets and your movie theater. Anyway, so I hope they're tuned in, these women that are friends with my sister tonight. So I think one of them's name is Mary. So if you're there, Mary, this shout out to you, and my sister is Paula. So I just wanted to share that and
That's
say
so cool.
thank you, because like and they're like, "Oh, Dr. Anthony Shafee, he's so good looking," and all those doctors, like they're obsessed with this little network that you have, and I'm kind of becoming part of now too. So thanks, Carrie. I just wanted to share that.
Thanks for sharing. That's awesome. My head's gonna start blowing up as you say this. It's so funny because Jen and I were in Madison. We were at Costco, and in the parking lot, someone stopped me. This has never happened before.
Wow, that's awesome.
He's like, "Are you that YouTube guy, the carnivore?" And he was carnivore too, which was so cool because I don't really. Cool. So I said to Jen, I was like, he probably just wants an autograph or something. Just give me a couple minutes. I was being a total jerk about it. Like all night, I'm like, oh, it's so difficult just living this life. I can't go out in public anymore. And I was totally playing it up.
That would drive your wife nuts for sure, eh?
Yeah, it was fun for a little bit, but that's so cool. Love to hear it. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to coming out there. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to hit up that A&W. When we were in Canada with Maggie, Adam and I saw like 2 of them, but it was when we were leaving on the way. I was like, God, Jeff mentions it all the time. We got to get in there and get some of those burger patties, but we haven't had
grass finished, and their eggs are supposed to be hormone free, like everything.
Yes,
like
I saw that.
Eh? Yeah. And their cheese, which I treat myself once in a while. Dr. Dwight says I shouldn't be putting cheese on my burgers, but their cheddar cheese is supposed to be as real cheddar as possible. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We found a couple Airbnbs, so it's going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds good.
And the day before that, we're filming the wonderful Dr. Tony Hampton in Chicago. Unfortunately, a lot of people were just commenting, asking me earlier, the meetup in Chicago is filled up.
That's awesome.
So don't have any new tickets, but yeah, it's great. I can't believe how fast it filled up. We did a live stream the other day, Jeff, and it just went crazy. Someone was like, I wanted, in fact, someone's on here that did one of them. They're like, I want to donate $100, 2 tickets to just random people. And so we put names in a bucket. Well, then 10 seconds later, someone else said, I want to do it too. And then someone else said, I want to do it too. And then all of a sudden it was like 10 of them in a row. It was awesome. Just, I've never seen it happen. It was just like super chat. So yeah, it filled up really quickly. But that's going to be great. And filming Dr. Hampton is just wonderful. We're actually going to be filming him at his clinic. So with a patient. So that's going to be really cool. All right. Should we take some questions? There's quite a few in here.
Cool.
Sure.
Just real quick, we have a couple people that decided to become a member. We really appreciate that. Every penny we get from memberships goes to the Carnivore Diet Doc. So thanks, Charles, DJ, Alan, and Michelle. Really appreciate that. And yeah, I think I mentioned I have links in the description below for Ronnie's website and her book, and for Jeff's website, Blessings on My Journey. Let's see. Okay, here's the first question. Mark Anderson asked, the best diet tips for cancer prevention.
Well, I can just talk about that a second here, because Anthony Shafee, in that video that we were just watching before, he talks about even just any type of ketogenic diet is probably really, really good for cancer prevention. Yeah, that's from what I've learned. Just the low carb and low sugar, and
Yeah.
you probably there is probably, if you're metabolically healthy, there is probably a few plants that you probably could handle, that are good for fighting free radicals, such as berries, I would say, like your high in antioxidants, your blueberries, your raspberries,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So that's for preventing cancer. Yeah. And again, now that I know what I know about carnivore, for sure, if your beef has got every vitamin and mineral that you need in it, and it's bioavailable, as opposed to a lot of the plants it's not bioavailable. So I would say as much ruminant animals as possible, lambs, beef, stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah. Stay away from anything unnatural. Seems
Yes.
like we keep getting further
Anything
and further.
processed. Yes.
Absolutely. And I just want to say,
yeah.
my best friend, Dr. Dwight, everyone's been following me and Carrie on this little journey that we're on right now. My best friend's indigenous, and he goes back to the indigenous ways of living, where you hunted, you fasted, and then you ate the odd berry off a tree when it was in season, right? So you did, and our indigenous people were pretty disease free. They didn't have all these diseases that we have right now, and people getting cancer at a young age.
Right. Here's a good question. I had a lot of people asking me this when I did the fast those couple days. Maybe for Ronnie on this one first. Ronnie, what do you usually break a fast with?
What do I break a fast? For me, when I was doing my fasting, I was going for a regular meal when I was done, just like Jeff, because I'd gone for 2.5 days with nothing. Once I was done the hypothermia, we always stopped, and it was either a late lunch. So it was, always something like a regular meal is what I would start with.
Yes. To expand on that a bit, because Dr. Dwight kind of prepared me for breaking my fast, and he always told me, start with protein and then introduce the fats a little bit later on. Okay. Because you probably need to rebuild some of those cells with the protein. But now I'm just hungry for the fat and the beef. So I can get a little bit of protein and fat, and I can handle it. But Dwight also says, he would tell me, just don't have a huge meal right away. Tomorrow I'm going to eat some burgers at A&W, and then I'm going to come home later and eat some more meat with my sons. I'm going to spread it out. I do intermittent fasting when I'm eating, but Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, I don't care about intermittent fasting. Those 3 days after my fast, I spread out my eating throughout the day. And then next week, I get into intermittent fasting, just because I feel like my body deserves to have some meals throughout the day after doing a 5-day fast.
Yeah. When I broke mine, I did some bone broth, and then I did kind of what you said. I eased into it. I think a lot of people, maybe rightfully so, they're thinking more of going from the standard American diet, fasting, and then refeeding too quickly. Where you've done this 31 times now, you're probably like, whatever. It's not. I don't have to sip some bone broth. It might be your body might be a little bit more adjusted to it.
Absolutely.
I don't know, but
and you know what, Carrie? I just want to say thank you again, because you sent me the Keto Mojo. And I just started using it last night with my son, Peter, and it's amazing. I'm just blown away, because I've been using the glucose monitor, the Libra 2. And now this Keto Moji, you get blood samples, and I can measure my ketones and my glucose, and it's way more accurate. So it's going to be interesting. Like I had a pretty good ketone level and glucose level last night and today, but it's going to be interesting to see when I'm eating. Because actually my son Peter just did a test, and he's eating carnivore, my son Peter, and his glucose is really low, 4.4. So I'm hoping to keep my glucose low and hopefully some good ketone production even when I'm eating fat, hopefully, because your body will turn that fat into the hormone ketone, and that's well used for energy.
That's really cool. I have the exact same one that I sent to you. I haven't used it in a while. Like when I started carnivore, I'm like, what can I change? But now I'm learning there are things you can change if you're exercising or, like you said, eating more fat. So I'm gonna pull that thing out. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'll text you, tell you what
Yeah,
my numbers are.
absolutely.
I'm
And
really interested to see.
there's something I learned actually because Peter did it, and I was texting Dr. Dwight right after, because Peter's glucose was very low, but his ketone was really low. Like my ketone was 1.5, almost 2. His ketones were like 0.2. And Dwight said to me, he told me that adolescents or pregnant women, because they're growing, your ketone level will be low because you're releasing insulin. Because of the growth hormone, you're releasing insulin. So the insulin is making the ketone levels low. So that's the reason why Peter's ketones level is low, and he's exercising so much that his glucose is always going to be low while he's eating a carnivore diet.
Wow.
So
That's good
I
news.
learned that.
He's still growing too then,
He's
right?
still growing. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. He's sick. My son, by the way, everybody, I'm the same height as Carrie, 5'9", 10, but my son is 6'1". He's 15, and he's been carnivore for probably about 8 or 9 months now, and he's doing really well. Like he's tonight on the soccer pitch, he was by far had the most stamina out of like 22 kids, and he was one of the best players on the pitch tonight. And he ate 5 burgers today. He had a tray of beef and lamb before he went to play soccer. He's really loving it.
That is so cool. Do you feel a little guilty, Jeff, for the opponents of your son that are out there? He's just crushing them.
Well, you know what?
6'1".
Not yet. But Dr. Dwight keeps saying if Peter and Dante keep going the way they are, they're gonna kill it. By the time they're like 17, 18 as athletes, they're really gonna kill it. And we through your channel, Carrie, and through all these like doctors, they've interviewed older athletes, Olympic athletes that are carnivores. It motivates them to see these athletes that are older thriving on carnivore.
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Chafee's done a couple really interesting one. I think he has another one that's it's probably coming out right now. He did with a wrestler that was younger
Yeah, I
too.
saw that one. Yes, yeah.
Hey, Primal Mike, question. Do you believe we all have cancer cells already? I think we do, and the earlier we start feeding them sugar, the more likely they won't ever grow to the extent to affect the organs.
I do believe we all have the cancer cells. I do.
Yeah,
and it's just a matter of something triggering it, right? With the sugar, the stress, something triggers it. And
yeah, I think I agree with Ronnie too. Something triggers it, like the free radicals and the oxidative stress definitely triggers it. And that's when the mitochondria is ready to go wrong and it goes wrong, right? And you're absolutely right. You're like, we have it and we start feeding it sugar and carbs. And basically, Dr. Anthony Chafee, when I was listening to his video tonight, he was describing why I have cancer to a T in terms of, I was feeding it with the standard American diet. Even though I was a Mediterranean diet as an Italian, I became vegetarian before I diagnosed myself, and I definitely probably I'm convinced I spread it up to my liver. To be honest with you, the 6 months I was a vegetarian, and I think the vaccines probably didn't help much either. So yes, Mike there, Wilma Mike, his name is. I agree with you. I think we do, and I also think. I know Ronnie's cancer free, but I know it's probably in the back of your mind, Ronnie, there's something ready to trigger again if you don't watch what you're doing, right? And it's the same thing. If I ever become cancer free, I'm not going to be cancer free. Like I know, like I have to continue doing what I'm doing, the fasting, the exercise, the diet, because if we go back to those old ways of how we were stressing our bodies out, it's just going to trigger again for sure.
Oh yeah, and when it comes back, it'll come back with vengeance.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So you need to make sure that you keep it under control. And like I said in the last video, I have to keep my foot on the gas. You can't let it up. And I worry about that all the time. And the more I learn about this carnivore, the more it makes it really easy. You know, you watch these videos and it's just like, wow, it makes so much sense. And you know, had I've known about the carnivore when I was going through chemo and through my treatments, I probably would have done it. I would have done anything. You know, and my book is the proof. It tells you everything that I did. It's my journal, but I literally tried everything that I knew of to get rid of it. So, but the carnivore, it's I'm really interested to see the impact because my next CAT scan will be the end of the year, right? So I'll be really interested to see, you know, my CEA, which is your cancer level measurement, was 1.6 in July, and normal is less than 4. So it was really good, but it would be, you know, I want to see where I am.
Mm. Great. All right. Here's another question from Rizzy. After having CV twice in 4 months, husband has MDS, a form of blood cancer. Is there anything I can do to raise all of his blood levels, platelets, red blood count, white blood count?
You know what? I'll touch on that one a little bit because my father just passed away September the 8th. And my father passed away from something very similar to this. He had a blood disorder that he was managing with a chemo pill for 18 years. And he had it was going to lead to leukemia. He had a low red blood cell count that he was managing, but then January, I think he got COVID, and after that, the pill stopped working, and then he was getting blood transfusions once a week and platelets given to him, and then we checked him into the cancer hospital, and then a month later, he was done. But what I was trying to get my dad on, and he was 75 years old, too young to die, but I was trying to get him on what he was a big fan. He was a big fan in supporting me and what I was going through at the time, taking me my cancer treatments, taking me to my natural path. And he knew what I was doing carnivore, and it was tough for him to switch his diet. You know, have my mom, a good Mediterranean Italian cook. It was very tough, but I told him, you know, your red blood cell count is low. Red meat raises that. Okay, beef will help out with that, right? Beef will help with your platelets, everything. So I know the traditional doctors will say to not eat red meat and stuff like that. So, but it doesn't make any sense. I really wish my father, you know, cut out the carbs. You want to cut out all the inflammation that's possible when you have a blood disorder, and try to feed it with some good fuel that's going to help regenerate and build the red blood cells. Especially, that's my experience. I think if my dad would have caught on to what I was doing, fasting and carnivore, maybe I could have got a couple more years out of him. But that's my story there.
All right. Here's a question from Donna Peters. Did or do either of you suffer from nausea from the chemo, or does the diet and fasting help with that?
The fasting helps with the nausea. Like I didn't have it too bad. How about you?
Yeah, the fasting definitely helps. Like I did my first 3 rounds out of 31 rounds. I just did chemo my first 3 rounds, and I was doing traditional diet, not really fasting, not doing naturopath. And those first 3 rounds, I was feeling pretty nauseous, and I was feeling up and down for sure. But once I switched and I added in all the regimen, especially fasting, it definitely helped with all the chemo symptoms. Yeah.
Awesome. I guess this wasn't a question, but a nice comment. I love all 3 of you. All your stories are amazing and inspiring. I'm paying close attention to your videos. We all need your messages of health and healing, so thank you.
I just want to say, Deborah, thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
I love reading those comments for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another one. I totally agree with this one. You guys are so inspiring. Wow, I've seen people go through chemo and they just want to sleep. Yeah. Jeff, you're incredible in that regard. I know I said it before, but
wow,
man.
Thanks. And you know what? Today's my down day, and you know, I was going to go for a bike ride with one of the phys ed classes in the morning, but I told him it was my down day. But I really was just trying to save my energy. I drove my son out of town. He had a cross country meet and he did really well at it. And then after that, we went to a couple stores because it was out of town, walking around. He's looking for athletic clothing and stuff. But I know walking in stores is a good thing. So moving around. And then I came back. I flew out of town to bring my son to soccer. Keeping busy it's good. Like I've learned that from Ronnie. Like I know when she says she walks a lot. I try to do that. Once I get this bottle off, I'll try to exercise. I'll go for bike rides. I'll do push-ups. I'll do whatever. So I think keeping busy and moving. It's the best thing. Like, yeah, like those first 3 rounds, when I was a carb sugar eater, like I was coming home from chemo and I'd be wanting to sleep every other hour for sure. But they were kind of telling me that at the hospital too. They were like, take it easy, rest, don't lift anything. Yeah. They're talking to me like I'm going to die tomorrow. So I have a hard time listening to the conventional doctors on how they want me to go about treating my cancer. So, I honor my oncologist, what he does to me when I'm in there. Okay. But when I'm not in there, it's my life. And like you said, Carrie, I take it in my 2 hands as much as possible.
Right. That was the other thing Dr. Chafee said in that video today is you are the only one that are going to have the consequences of whatever you do, not your doctor. So you got to take it into your own 2 hands.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah, but it is incredible, Jeff. Seriously, you just did chemo yesterday, and I've talked to you several times now, and it's like you're out with your shirt off, and you're mowing the lawn, and you're running around, and
it's getting cold here now in Canada.
Right.
So I'm not taking my shirt. I'm only going to take my shirt off if I do an interview with Dr. Paul Saladino. Because that guy, he could be in a grocery store and he's got his shirt off doing a video.
That's awesome. All right, we got another one. Hello from New Jersey. Wife with breast cancer stage 3. Our integrative oncologist put her on carnivore 6 months ago, and she's doing great.
Nice, amazing. That's awesome.
Love to hear that. Question: some people think cancer is only from parasites, and that's why ivermectin and Ven-Ben is used. That's not what I hear from Dr. Seyfried. Can you please explain? I'm not going to say that word right. In cancer treatment, benzimidazoles.
So these are all dewormers, and I've been getting a lot of tips from people, like from YouTube, about this ivermectin and Ven-Ben. They're dewormers that are used in animals, mostly horses and dogs, and there's just not a lot of studies done on humans. I pass this on to Dr. Dwight and stuff like that. It's helping cure diseases and parasites that are in animals, but I'm just not ready yet to take that risk. I haven't really seen too many studies done on humans on those things. So you got to really do the research before you do anything, I think. But that's what I know. I don't know if you guys know any more about those things.
I don't. I've heard quite a few comments on it though. And it was one thing I noted when we talked to Professor Seyfried. That's one question I definitely want to ask him.
Yes, for sure.
So we'll leave that.
And I want to find out actually with Dr. Seyfried. I don't know if it has anything to do with these dewormers, but he's got this medicine, DAWNS, he calls it, right? So I really want to ask him about that. And Anthony Chafee talked about it today because Seyfried believes in the pressure pulse kind of method where you hit it with DAWNS, which is a medicine that lowers your glutamine. And then you do a ketogenic diet with fasting for like 3 weeks, and then you come back to DAWNS. So I'm not sure what this DAWNS is. You can't get it on the market. So I can't wait to ask Dr. Seyfried about that.
I love that too. I don't know that much about it, but I remember him specifically talking about it, and he was very kind of excited about it and somewhat upset that it seemed like it was harder to get out to people for one reason or another.
Yes.
Yeah, because someone had asked him that question, and at that time I thought he was just like, you fast, you do ketogenic, but he's like, no, there is actually some really good medicine out there.
Medicine, that's right. Yes.
Here's a question from Watch Me Do This, Trisha. What supplements, I guess, if any, do you take for fighting cancer?
I take a lot, and I picked up some from Ronnie, and Dwight got me on a regimen. And this is a good question because I've been getting this question asked on my channel quite a bit after videos, and I think I'm going to make a video on it soon. I'm going to call it Jeff's video number 3, because I think I've only made really 2 videos. So I'm going to make it Jeff number 3, and it's going to be about my supplements. But I take about 14 to 16 supplements daily. And between Dr. Dwight, Ronnie's giving me a few, and my naturopath doctor. But the most important one, I think, if just to be vague here, because I'm going to do a video on it in the future, vitamin D, D3 with K2 and zinc for sure. Okay, to keep your immune system strong. And then the electrolytes.
Vitamin C.
Yeah. Vitamin C, I'm not really sold on, Ronnie. I took a break with Dr. Reed on that, just because I think we used to be vitamin C mammals, and now we're more vitamin D mammals, where we can get our vitamin C, from what I've been told from Dr. Dwight, through squeezing a lemon in your water once a day. And we really need that vitamin D, because the vitamin D is going to help with your immune system and inflammation. Then the electrolytes is the other thing I think is very, very important. Like Ronnie said, especially when you're fasting and you're starting carnivore, you got to make sure your electrolytes are proper, right? So, there's the magnesium, iodine, potassium. The salt is huge. Like Redmond fine salt, like Carrie puts it on everything, and so do I. And I actually, to be honest with you, not only for fighting cancer, but like even our children, we've been taught that salt is a horrible thing. Like my son does Peter sometimes when he's going to a good soccer competition, he puts a sprinkle of Redmond fine salt, and then there's potassium. It's called no salt. He puts it in a glass and he downs it. And he knows that his muscles need those electrolytes to go perform. A lot of people tell you, oh, don't eat salty things before you go play sports and stuff like that. Here's my son downing it. And I do it too when I'm fasting. Probably tonight before I go to bed, I'll do a shot of Redmond fine salt with the potassium.
I did the same on your advice, Jeff, when I fasted.
Yes.
It was great. I did a little shot in the morning. I'm like, I'd rather do that and then just enjoy my water later, but it did really seem to help.
Yeah, it did. It tastes like you're drinking the ocean, but it goes down quick.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I was using last week too.
Nice.
Question for Ronnie and Jeff. I've seen some comments on several YouTube from folks dealing with cancer asking who your naturopath is. Are you able to share the name and city or a link?
I don't know, Ronnie. What do you think? Okay with it?
They've been emailing me, and I've been giving them the naturopath's contact information.
Yeah. That's fine. It's Dr. Reed. It's Dr. Reed. He's in Kitchener, Ontario, and he's quite popular. I think I met Ronnie through Dr. Reed, and when I first started going to him, before I started going to him, I asked my oncologist, hey, I'm going to go to a naturopath in Kitchener. And right away, my oncologist said, oh, is it Dr. Reed? Because my oncologist actually had a lot of patients, including Ronnie, that have gone to him. So he's really well known here in Ontario. And I think he's in Kitchener, Ontario. And when I started going to Dr. Reed, he had this hyperthermia machine, which I use on Wednesdays and Fridays. It comes from Germany. It's a very expensive machine. And when I started a year and a half ago, he told me there's only 2 in Ontario. There's another naturopath in Vaughan, Ontario that has one, right, Ronnie?
Yeah.
So and he's got people from the States like Michigan, Ohio, coming to Ontario to use this hyperthermia machine because it's quite expensive and they're not found too many places. In Germany, they're all over the place. They even have, because I use a local regional, same with Ronnie, like it was on our abs and on Ronnie's lungs, but there's a full body hypothermia machines in Germany that they use mainstream along with chemo treatment. So hopefully that helps. You can look up Dr. Reed, and I'm sure he'll be happy that we shouted him out here today.
He's gonna get a bunch of messages.
I did send him an email last week saying I've been giving your name to people.
Good.
So just to give him a heads up.
And he's great. So he's really on board with a lot of the newest research as a naturopath for sure.
Yeah.
Carnivore Ron, good friend of the channel. Young people probably lower their risk of cancer if they eat keto carnivore. The younger, the better.
Correct. I believe that
100%. And that's, I'm I'm really proud of my sons, especially Peter. Dante too. He's a bit younger and he's getting better with his diet. But Dr. Dwight told me, he's like, and all the athletes we coach, like we're coaching teenagers, right? And they're growing, but they're not really growing properly because they're constantly inflamed. Like their brains are inflamed, their bodies are inflamed with sugar and carbs. So we talk to our athletes about diet, about sleep, about fasting, about exercise, everything, right? And we share what we're doing, Dwight and I. And we don't tell the kids, hey, you got to be carnivore and keto, but then they start asking questions. And when they start asking questions, that turns into the best lesson ever. And especially for kids that are, that are growing, and kids that are athletes, and even kids that aren't athletes, I think it's very important because it's going to lower the risk of cancer for sure. And it's going to keep them disease free. It's going to lower the type 2 diabetes that's happening in kids more and more, right?
Yeah.
Just everything.
That was one of the reasons. This was like originally when I was doing the Carnivore Diet Documentary, we didn't have cancer in it until I started learning more about it, because just for those reasons you said, it's like everything that's unnatural, type 2 diabetes or mental health, depression, anxiety, it all just goes back to an escape from natural, from eating highly inflammatory foods and toxic
Yes.
foods and
Yes.
processed foods. There's so many issues.
Absolutely. I was even today, there's this one boy I coach in volleyball, and he was doing cross country with my son. He's got sports induced asthma. Well, asthma is inflammation. That's all. It's inflammation of the lungs. And so I was sending the mother, who she's actually a teacher and a friend of mine. I was sending her links to Kendi Berry, Dr. Kendi Berry, who talks about, he does an asthma talk with on the carnivore diet and keto diet, and how it improves the asthma symptoms and almost gets rid of asthma. So like there's a lot of kids out there that are struggling with asthma, and that's a lot of it's caused by inflammation, right? And this,
It's the diet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's so exciting too to see kids that are going to be able to eat the proper human diet from such a young age up, because
Absolutely.
sadly so many of them are being born right now. They're never going to know what it's like. So hopefully,
you know what, Carrie, I've been watching your videos for a long time, and I remember in the summertime you were making videos and like on how this angry you kind of are with people that are so like ignorant towards like about us being carnivore, right?
yeah,
And I'm kind of like you. I'm on board with you now. I'm sharing my story with everybody, and I'm telling everybody about what I'm doing. Like I'll go into Starbucks, I'll go into wherever I go, and I'll tell people like, oh yeah, I'm getting heavy cream because I'm a carnivore. You know what I mean? As opposed to milk and sugar in my coffee and this and that. Like I want to spread the word now, Carrie. Like you've motivated me to, like, we're going to try to touch millions of people, hopefully with your documentary and all these videos we're doing, because it's mainly for the kids. Like I don't want to see these kids grow up in a horrible world where everybody's getting sick and dying way too young. Right.
right. Yeah, I think I know what video you're talking about. I was kind of fired up on that one. It
You
was
were
just
fired up. Yeah, I like that one.
my thing was it's like people are ashamed kind of to talk about it, because you're like, oh, there's the crazy guy. But it's like, no, it's really crazy that we're feeding kids these inflammatory foods from a young age, getting them hooked on sugar, and then they're getting depressed and they're getting anxiety and they're getting asthma. Getting all that's
Yes,
crazy.
it is crazy.
I used to be a part of it, but now it's like, God, it's so clear. And the other reason I think I got fired up in that video too is it's because like now people are scared to talk about it. So how many other people are there out there like Jeff or like my friend Bill that are never going to hear about carnivore? And Bill was hopeless without carnivore. He was hopeless, stuck in his house for 4 years. There's a lot of other Bills in the world that are never going to hear about carnivore. People are scared to talk about it because they're kind of shamed when they're talked about it. Like they're the crazy ones. It's like, this really isn't that crazy. It's
For sure.
yeah. Jennifer, Texas Carnivore. All oncologists should be told to watch Dr. Thomas Seyfried. Yeah.
For
100%.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Jan said, Jeff, ask your doctors for the chemo pamphlet of side effects. Please look at this. Are you eating raw fermented veggies such as sauerkraut to add good bacteria back into your gut?
Good question. Yeah, I was eating sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is good bacteria. I was doing it probably a year ago. I just become more and more strict carnivore as I go along, and I keep cutting things out. Sauerkraut I was eating. I'll tell you some of the plants I was eating. Sauerkraut was probably the only veg I was eating, to be honest with you. other than the odd Caesar salad when I'm out on like holidays with my family, but I'd have less lettuce. I'd have more bacon and cheese and cream than anything. I'd ask the restaurant, just give me less lettuce as possible with my Caesar salad. But so sauerkraut, the odd Caesar salad. I would eat raspberries, olives, and avocados. Raspberry, olives, and avocados were the only fruits I was eating because they didn't spike my blood sugar. But the more and more I learn about plants, like I just don't want the things that avocados have and olives have. And raspberries, you know what? I was a big fan of and I actually ate raspberries a bit last week for a treat with my sons, but they're full of oxalates, and oxalates are anti-nutrients that are going to cause, like, I want to get as many nutrients and minerals in me as possible, right? So a lot of these plants have these oxalates, lectins, tannins built in them, which are all anti-nutrients, and they cause your body not to make these nutrients bioavailable, from what I've learned. So sauerkraut was good for good bacteria. Yeah, I might start eating it again, but I think I can get a lot of the good stuff from red meat, to be honest with you. And there is some good yogurts, I guess, that are really low in carbs that I try once in a while, but they got to have good ingredients. Things. Sauerkraut is probably the best thing if I had to, for sure. That's a fermented veg that wouldn't cause me too much harm.
All right. This is my buddy Adam, Carnivore Today, who's going to be coming with me out to film Jeff. He's asking, is Jeff a screaming, spit flying kind of coach or more laid back? I need to be prepared for what kind of action shots. By the way, Adam is an amazing photographer. Jeff, any pictures that you want, like this guy?
Yeah, you know what? If you come
NFL
watch me
sidelines.
yeah, you know what? I used to be that kind of coach, especially when I'm coaching soccer, because soccer is my main thing. And there's 11 athletes on the pitch. I try to be the 12th athlete on the pitch by talking to my athletes, instructing my athletes, cheering them on all game long. But I've kind of toned it down over the years, and I coach with Coach Dwight, Dr. Dwight, who he's opposite of me. He does a lot of the coaching at practices, but during the games he's more quiet. So I coach volleyball right now with Dwight, and if he comes to watch that, we are pretty calm on the bench. But yeah, I can get fired up once in a while too.
Nice. Question for Ronnie. I heard you mention hypothermia in the previous video with Jeff and Carrie. Can you share more about that treatment?
It's hyper. Yes.
Hyper.
Yeah, so hyperthermia. Yeah, that's right. It is different. It's hyperthermia, and it's like a waterbed. You lay on the bed, and it's got electrodes underneath it. And then they put this probe on your stomach. Well, it was on my stomach to cover my liver, lungs, and colon and omentum. And it's where Jeff's is too. And they sort of tighten it up. And there's electrodes in that probe. And what it does is it heats your insides to 45 degrees Celsius. And it just cooks all the bad cancer cells, is basically what it does. And that's why you're fasting too, so that it's only cooking the bad cells. It's not doing anything to the good cells. So, but that's it's correct, hyperthermia, not hypo.
Yes.
Right. Great. Jill, thank you so much. $10 super chat. My daughter has epilepsy, uncontrolled. How do I find a holistic doctor like you did?
Ooh.
A good question. I think, you have to research and do a lot of the naturopath doctors are the best. Like, they're all different though. You have to really just talk around to people that have gone to different ones.
Yeah. And we were lucky because there had been a lot of people cancer patients that had gone to the one, but we asked the doctor, who is there a naturopath, because I didn't want to do chemo.
Yes. So I think you might want to look into even osteopath too, because the osteopath is really good with just like blood flow from head to toe and increasing it by adjusting your organs and stuff. I'm totally blown away by the osteopath. Actually, like my son Dante has an injury right now, a back injury, and my wife took him to the osteopath tonight. He's actually an osteopath / athletic therapist, so he did a lot of work on him, and they help a lot with I'm sure it would help with epilepsy for sure.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was not that carnivore or keto is the answer for everything, but I was talking to my Amish friends and I was telling them I'm carnivore, and that they knew. They're like, "Oh, that's just keto, right?" I'm like, "How do you know this?" And they had a cousin that had epilepsy and seizures, and like our
Yes,
cousin does keto, and it's like really effective for them. So it's
for sure. Because that
yeah,
seizures is all those seizures are caused by inflammation, right?
yeah.
So, doing that for sure would help.
This is the more we talk about this stuff, it's like everyone in the world should be more worried about inflammation. When you talk to people, they're always, "Oh, you're doing carnivore. What about your cholesterol?" I'm like, "Are you worried about your inflammation at all?" Because 88% of people walking around have poor metabolic health, and I
Yeah.
don't. I'm not worried about that, but no one seems to be worried about inflammation, but it seems like such a
I
huge problem
yeah,
for so many.
I I get my blood work tested every other week at my cancer treatment, right? Or else I can't get chemo, right? And all my blood work is checking out perfect. And I even go as far as getting my sorry,
Your
as far as getting
HDL.
my cholesterol's checked,
Yeah.
and
LDLs.
even my vitamin D, and I take it a lot of vitamin D. Like I take 20 to 30,000 international units a day. And my blood work is all panning out pretty good. And I've been carnivore for a year and a half, so I'm not too worried about my cholesterol. My blood levels are all in check.
Nice. Oh, man, we've already been talking for an hour. This flew by. Do you guys have a couple more minutes? There's a few more
Yeah,
questions.
for sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
We got one from Laurel, another super chat. Thank you so much, $5. This just drives me crazy that conventional doctors have no clue how much a regimen like this helps.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
is true.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, even at the cancer clinic where we go, there is two oncologists, and one is we were really blessed to have Dr. Lee, who is
yeah,
he's doing what's good for the patient. The other oncologist does not. It's chemo only, and I'm sure if we were with him, we'd be dead.
yeah. Because
But you'd have to do
I
your
agree.
research yourself.
I
Yep.
agree. And then when you talk about a regimen, Laura, like I don't know if you heard my other videos. Like I do pretty much what Ronnie does, but even a little bit more. Like I'm diet, I'm fasting, I'm exercise, I'm naturopath, I'm osteopath, I'm doing heat and cold therapy, supplements. Like I got about 8 or 9 things a part of my regimen. And Ronnie's totally right. Like most of the oncologists, I've heard cancer patients talk to an oncologist,
Yep.
and they just say there's not enough research on diet, there's not enough research on fasting, there's not enough research on this. That's their answer. Most of the oncologists, that's their answer.
Mhm.
So it is very disappointing that they're not up to date with the regimens that can be added in to help chemo, right? To help
Yeah.
chemo work
Yeah.
better.
And that's why, these videos are really, really important. And, thank you so much for doing this because you need to get it out there. People need to
For
see
sure.
this and see that it works. There's living proof that by changing you know, your lifestyle, um, it works,
Yeah,
you know.
that
Carrie,
was what. I'm
sorry.
sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to say, like, these questions are amazing and they're great. And I know I'm supposed to be streaming from my channel too. I hope it's working. I'm not sure if questions are coming into that and we're not seeing them, but I'll check it out after the video and I'll address
Yeah.
them next time.
Let me look here. Just double checking here.
Just because I know there's a lot of people that told me they were going to tune in tonight, and
Yep, I see a whole. You're definitely streaming on your channel, and I am
okay,
seeing
cool.
those. Some of the questions I've asked were from your channel. I just
Oh,
checked on your
cool,
YouTube
cool,
page, and I'm
awesome.
seeing
Thanks, Gary.
duplicates. So,
Thanks, Gary.
yep, yeah, yeah, good stuff, Ronnie. And that was something Professor Seafried, I heard him say too, was that in order to change all of this, it's going to be the little guys. It's going to be us. It's going to be the individuals. It's not going to be the big healthcare places or the schools or anything like that. So getting the word out there. Hopefully there'll be more. Like I said, I want to make this a big part of the documentary because it's that important. And then that cancer evolution documentary too. I'm not affiliated with those guys at all. I watched the first episode and I was like, wow, this is so good. Anyone that's getting cancer and want to have a good explanation. The first
I've
episode goes through Otto Warburg and how all that went down.
That's awesome. You know what? What streaming source is that on?
It's actually just on their website now. I
Oh,
think
is
they're
it?
going to expand it. It's cancer. I'll leave a link in the description for people too.
Okay.
It's cancerevolution.film. And it's kind of cool how they're doing it now. You can download episode 1 and then they ask for a donation. So you can like leave $1. So some people, everyone was like really cool with it, but a couple people left comments before like, oh, I got to pay for it. And I'm like, they literally filmed this whole, it's incredible how well they filmed it. There's animation, so much research into it. And it really, it tells the story, a lot of stuff that Professor Seyfried's talking about, but really visually, it's
And
so
they
well done.
and they start with Otto Warburg, right? That's what you said.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
The
and
first
you know
episode.
that's amazing because I sent that video of Anthony Shafee talking about Seyfried, and he talked about Otto Warburg today to my sister and all these people. And when I was talking to my sister tonight, I'm like, the stuff Seyfried's teaching everybody, he learned it from Otto Warburg in the 1930s,
Yeah.
right?
The 30s.
Like which
yeah.
is like, so they knew this about cancer in the 1930s, and and we're now just finding out about it through Dr. Seyfried's work, right? So that's great. I'm gonna watch that Cancer Evolution for sure.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I just the guy that put it together, his wife had cancer. Him and his wife put it together, and he took about an hour out of his time this morning. It was either this morning or yesterday, to answer some questions about documentary stuff. But he's going to be on the roundtable with us. He's interviewed Professor Seyfried
Awesome.
and all of the experts and doctors. And the really cool thing, Jeff, at the end of that, you guys have to watch to the end. Anyone that watches it, at the very end, it shows a whole bunch of individual stories, just like yours and just like Ronnie's. And then it just fills the whole page up of people that are
Amazing.
treating cancer. They're doing a lot of stuff you are with the regimen and fasting and ketogenic. So it's really well done. Another super chat. Thank you so much. Absolutely relative. Ronnie, you can do it and you'll prove them wrong. Awesome. I think that one was from a little bit earlier. Appreciate it. Have any of your question from Miss Black? Have your doctors warned you about fasting or supplements? I received a lot of pushback from traditional healthcare oncology.
We were lucky because our oncologist, he used to, when I used to go in on Wednesdays, he'd say, what's Dr. Reed got you on now, and just keep doing it, because he used to say, you look great, you're still able to do everything. So we were really fortunate. There is a lot of oncologists that do not want you to take supplements or deviate from the chemo and their regimen. There's a lot of them out there.
Yes, I agree with you, Ronnie. There is a lot. And actually, my oncologist that I saw yesterday, yes, Ronnie is right. He's very supportive. But I asked him about while I'm fasting, should I be taking my supplements? Because I've kind of changed my theory on this. When I first started fasting, even Dr. Dwight's and Dr. Reed, my naturopath, he said, yeah, don't take your supplements when you're fasting. But then the more and more I learn, and even my buddy Dr. Dwight learns about supplements and what chemo does to you. And because I'm fasting, I actually started taking my supplements today. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I was fasting. I didn't take supplements, but today I was kind of feeling down. So especially I started the vitamin B complex 100 and B12 for energy. And I took all my supplements today. So I'm starting to do that again. But when I asked the oncologist, he's like, I don't know. My oncologist was very supportive. Like Ronnie said, he's like, I just don't know too much about fasting or even supplements. But you know what? If you need it, he usually said, take the supplements while you're fasting. He said that yesterday. So, but there is a lot of pushback for sure. Like Ronnie said, they'll say not enough research.
Here's a question from No Insanity Renee. Have either of you tried or looked into Bloodroot?
No.
Don't know what that is, Bloodroot.
No, me neither.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one either. All right. One hope for all. My daughter had sports-induced asthma. She went keto for another reason, but so much else was fixed, including this. Now she's low carb. Awesome.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, good for her.
I hope that family that I sent that email to today with Dr. Kendi Berry is watching this one, because that boy has sports-induced asthma as well.
Jeff, do you have you considered taking iodine?
I do take iodine. I don't know if I mentioned that briefly. It was one of those electrolytes. Iodine is huge. especially for your thyroid and your immune system for sure.
All right. And then,
Oh, this is my friend.
there we go. Besides salt, do you use anything else like spice to add flavor in your food? Thoughts on turmeric? It's not that anti-inflammatory?
I take turmeric.
Turmeric is part of mine, Christine, and
Yeah.
Christine's a friend of mine. So thank you for writing in, Christine. She's actually the librarian at my school, at my high school, and I actually had a black coffee with her this morning, and I was telling her I don't really enjoy my black coffee anymore because on my eating weeks I put heavy cream in it. So on my fasting weeks I kind of just do water, but I have the odd black coffee. But in terms of spice and anything, a lot of the spices, Christine, like the black pepper, it's a nightshade family, so it's got those oxalates and lectins and tannins built into those peppers. So I try to avoid even spices, just salt. Turmeric, just like Ronnie takes turmeric. That's Dr. Reed, our naturopath, got us on turmeric, and that it's anti-inflammatory for sure. And there's a lot of research on turmeric helping fight cancer as well.
Nice. All right. Here's just a comment. Florida Doc 999 shout out. Nelson. 100 years ago, the only treatment available for epilepsy was a ketogenic diet.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear.
And then $5 from Marnie Mack. Thank you so much. I didn't realize that Jeff and Ronnie were so close to me. I'm proud of my fellow Canadians. Rock on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mississauga. I was just in Oakville, and
Yeah.
Oakville and Mississauga, they border each other. So I'm in Mississauga quite a bit. If Marnie Mack wants to reach out to me, and I don't know if you're struggling with anything or you just want to meet for a coffee sometime, I'd be down with it.
Awesome. Oh, looks like we got one more here. Bypass Carnivore. Carrie, will you be interviewing or inviting David from DC learning to live stage 4 blood cancer, carnivore 9-year remission, but still dealing with the effects of chemo? Yes, I would love to talk to him. I've been meaning to. I saw him interviewed on a couple different channels. He's got an incredible story. We're doing this cancer roundtable, and I'm thinking maybe we'll end up doing more if you guys are interested.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's tough. Like actually, Dr. Chafee was going to join that, but we had a bunch of people come in, and it's like there's not going to be enough time. We only have limited time with Professor.
We want to
Seyfried,
focus on Seyfried for sure.
Yeah, so maybe we'll do another one, and I'll have to invite DC Learning to Live. Otherwise, I'd love to have him on my channel at some time too. He's been helping out with the Carnivore Diet Documentary as well, and I've seen him on quite a few channels. He's just got an incredible story as well.
What does DC Learning mean? What's DC?
I think it's his initials.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
David.
That's
I
awesome.
think it's his
David,
initials.
yeah.
Maybe David Carnivore. But yeah, he's really cool. Oh, and you know what, Jeff? He had Professor Seyfried on his channel. I saw that video too, and that was really
that's
cool.
awesome. And he's carnivore, 9-year remission.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for
He's
him.
got Google him, check him out if you get some time.
Absolutely.
He's got a bunch of videos. It's really an incredible story. I'd love to talk to him some more.
That's great.
Someone said I missed their question. Let me just double check here. Has any of you or the viewers who have been diagnosed experienced an unexplained elevated B12 before diagnosis?
No.
No.
All right. Well, it looks like someone said I missed a question, but I'm scrolling through and I don't see it. So if you had a question and I missed it, you got to repost it. So apologies if I missed it. One more. This isn't really a question. Also consider oregano. All right. Awesome. Well, I think we got through all the questions. Yeah, this has been great. Thank you guys so much. Ronnie and
Thank you.
Jeff. Really
thank you
very much.
I'm looking forward to doing our roundtable with Professor Seyfried. So stay tuned for that. We're filming it next week. It'll probably be live in like 2 weeks, but definitely everyone watching on my channel, go check out Jeff DeProsperous. I have the link for Blessings on My Journey in the description below. And then Ronnie Campbell too, the website, the book, both linked to in the description below. Yeah, you guys are great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you guys want to shout out or
no, I just when's the Seyfried one? Is it November 2nd?
Yeah, it's Friday.
November 3rd. Okay, good.
I should double check here. Yeah, it's It is the 3rd. Yeah, the 3rd
Sure,
Friday.
that's awesome. And I think actually I did it. I just want to say, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Sean Baker, if he's going to tune in, because I did a video with him a week and a half ago, and it went really well. And Dr. Sean Baker, he wrote the book on the carnivore. He wrote the book called Carnivore Diet. So I think my video with him is coming out around November 4th ish. So people on my channel and even Carrie's channel, I think that would be a good one, because Dr. Sean Baker really knows his stuff. He's very professional, and just talking to him, I learned a lot during that episode.
Yes. I can't wait to watch that. And the cool thing was, after it hasn't been posted yet, like Jeff mentioned, but after he did it, Dr. Baker was so happy or impressed with your story that he did another separate video just talking about Jeff and his
Yes, he
story.
did.
So that was, I was watching, I'm like, who's he? Oh, he's talking about Jeff. And then I texted you quick. I'm like,
You did.
Yeah. So you made a good impression for sure. I can't wait to watch that one. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, and thanks for all the great questions. And yeah, we'll end it there. Everyone have a good night. Bye.
Okay.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.